You know you are here for a big reason and a big purpose when you have near-death experiences. And my father had a near-death experience that completely shaped his entire life. It's time to stop spinning your wheels, wasting time, money, and energy building your brand alone on social media. Hi, I'm Sophia Spallino, the host of Social Equity, the podcast, here to help you build your own profitable personal brand, the social equity you can rely on to make the money that you deserve. Are you ready, Miss Future Millionaire? Let's get into it. Hello, my queer friends, fellow entrepreneurs, allies. Welcome back to Social Equity. I'm your host, Sophia Spallino, and I'm honored that you join me here as I share my stories, as I share my triumphs, as I share my valleys as a queer entrepreneur. Today, I'm actually going to tell a different kind of story. I'm going to be telling a story that transformed my life as a little girl, that penetrated every single area of my life because it was such a big thing in my family and affects who I am today. And even to this day, when I ask my dad to retell it, I get angel bumps every single time. You know you are here for a big reason and a big purpose when you have near-death experiences. And my father had a near-death experience that completely shaped his entire life and also shaped mine and my family's. So for those of you who don't know, hi, I'm Sophia Spallino, about to be 32. I am a late in life lesbian, meaning that I figured it out much later. And the reason I didn't figure it out until late, I have a little sip of my chocolate salt. I don't drink coffee very often. I drink chocolate salt. Crazy, I know. Anyway, the reason I didn't figure out until much later in life was most likely because of how I was raised and where I was raised. And I know there's many queer women out there who feel the same. So I grew up strict evangelical, and my family never wanted me to learn about Catholic tradition because they were raised Catholic, like my parents were raised Catholic, and it didn't really do anything for them, I suppose. And because they were never devout and they never took it seriously, they never got good results. So here's the thing that I believe about any sort of belief, business plan, strategy, religion, is if you don't believe in it, it's not going to work for you. You actually have to believe that God is good in order for you to get goodness from God. Like, you have to have a belief that your business strategy is going to work. Otherwise, it won't. Like, you have to actually believe that it's enough. What you're doing is enough. This is what I've been learning from my spiritual coach and working on. So my parents growing up Catholic in South Louisiana, everyone grows up Catholic. I don't think that they ever put an effort to truly meet God. And when they got married and looked at each other like the priest made them promise to like have children and all these things. And my parents looked at each other and was like, no, because my mom didn't want children. And I just think that's hilarious because she ended up having 3. Anyway, one being a gay lesbian, one being me, the psychedelic sheep. Anyway, so my parents were raised Catholic until they got together, and then they believed in nothing until the fateful day that my dad was held at gunpoint and almost died. My parents worked so hard to build their business. They were small business owners. My dad grew up going to jewelry school since he was 14 years old. My mom dropped out of college to help my dad run the business, which is their business. They became really successful with it. And even now, the brand is still out there. It's a small town, small business. It's not like a huge, big brand, but they did very well for themselves. And it's called A. Bryan's Jewelers. But when my parents first started, they had like a 300 square foot little office. My dad made everything himself. He didn't have designers like Fendi or Gucci or Simon G in the store yet. It was just like this little square people would walk in. My dad even had a drive-through window where people would drop off their jewelry for repair. I really learned so much about entrepreneurship from this man because he taught me, like, make things easy for your customer. Like, have a freaking drive-through window to have people pull up and drop off their jewelry, and they'll come to you rather than drop it off somewhere else. So I learned so much from them. And I've been working since I was 5 selling diamonds, but that's aside from the point. So let's back it up. My parents just got married. I get like my love of age gaps from my parents because I've seen them have a beautiful relationship. And my dad is 7 years older than my mom. My mom was 19 when they got married. And at this point, I say my dad's probably about 30. My mom's probably about 23. I'm guessing. I'm not sure on that part. But anyway, they just opened their first version of the jewelry store, which was so small. Like, it's so small. If you Google it now, it's a beautiful space and building that my dad designed, but like, it's so small. They were like in an old fast food building and they rented out part of it and they had a drive-through window for jewelry. I kid you not. So, my mom was helping my dad. She would go pick up lunch. She would go, she would price things, but at this point there wasn't many things to price. She just would go pick up different supplies and help with whatever she could. They worked so hard. I believe they had been in business for about a year, and they reinvested every penny back into their business, which was their baby. They didn't have me yet or my sisters. And my mom tells me these stories all the time, just how hard they worked. My dad would wake up at 4 a.m. every single morning and go start making jewelry. This must be where I got my work ethic from. He would wake up every single morning that early and get to work. And he started designing things, and as he would make money, he would reinvest it back in, and he'd buy different jewelry to resell and make his own designs. He got really big into like selling gold chains. That was like totally the thing back in the 80s. So, which I still love my gold chains. I don't have them on now, but you guys know I always wear like multiple gold chains. It's like such a thing in our Italian family. But anyway, this seemed like a normal day. It started as a normal day. My mom had left to go pick up lunch and go pick up some office supplies at like Office Depot or whatever was the office supply store at that time. And my dad was left alone in the jewelry store, which would be fine. No big deal. He's doing his thing. And thank God my mom left that day, because I don't want to imagine what could have happened to her. Because as women, when violent things happen, sometimes women are also SA'd. So I'm really glad that my mother wasn't there. But my dad, all of a sudden, he's working on his jewelry, and 4 men come in, and they have guns. And one of the men, the leader, instructs one of the guys, to go grab my dad and bring him to the back room and put something over his head and told him to take him out. And my dad was so scared. At this point, like I said, my parents believed in nothing. They had no spirituality, nothing at all. And my dad's being drugged into the back room and his head being covered, and he can feel like the barrel of a gun next to his head covering. And in that moment, my dad saw his life flash before his eyes, and he tells me this all the time. I mean, imagine being in a 400 square foot space. There's violent men grabbing everything you just worked for. Now, my dad said back then, he and my mom at this point had about 100, I think, I hope I'm not getting this wrong, and he'll let me know if I did, because he's so like, the details of his story are so good when he tells it. But I saved about $100,000 of inventory. Now it's 2024. This is back in the 80s. Yeah, because I was born in 92. This is before I was born. So that's a freaking lot of money back then. Like, he busted his butt to have $100,000 in inventory at this point. And he's thinking he's going to die. And he hears everyone stealing everything he's worked for his beautiful wife, my mom, and for his future family. Like, I'm getting teary just thinking about it, because that's like, when my dad tells this story every time, I cry just so little. So at this point, my dad's freaking out, and the guy that took him into the back room, we'll call him Rick, like, whispered to him, and he said, look, just don't do anything, and I'm not going to kill you. So my dad's just like staying super still. And then sirens start blaring. It was broad daylight from what I understand from my parents, because this is lunchtime. It was a miracle. Like, the police showed up. And I need to ask my dad the details around that, because I want to know who called the police. That I am not clear on. But anyway, the guy with the gun dropped it. They took off with the jewelry. The jewelry was never recovered, which is suspicious, because they saw it get dumped into, like, there were witnesses that saw it get dumped into dumpsters, and then people went looking for it. Yeah, jewelry never recovered, which I find super suspicious. But all of the men were eventually caught out of state, and they were running, but they were caught, and the law put them in jail. Now, after that moment, that terrible moment, facing a really cruel death, my dad was forever changed. And that's when, like, the course of our family was changed, because my dad had an interaction that was so shocking that the next time someone introduced him to God, he was like, wait, I need to know about God, because yeah, you could go at any moment, and this is crazy. So my parents got introduced to God and, like, went so into their faith on, like, such a deep level, because they had experienced something so traumatic. Okay, but pause there. Go back to these guys going to prison. My dad got a call from prison, and the man who chose not to kill him was on the line. And he built a friendship with my dad over the years, and my dad sent him a Bible. Again, I'm telling you guys this story coming from a lesbian who loves and appreciates all religions, all people, but I was raised super strict Christian, and this is probably why. But my dad sent him a Bible, and they started exchanging letters. And this guy, Rick, became a prison minister, which is crazy, because they were a part of, like, this awful gang that stole and, like, threatened to kill people, which is crazy. When my dad, like, maybe I don't know how many years he had to serve. I have no idea. I don't know if it was 20. I don't know if it was 15. But my dad got a call when Rick got out. And Rick was like, Mr. Brian Spallino. He would always call him Mr. Spallino. Thanks for saying it's a good story. I'm actually recording this while I share it live on TikTok. So thanks for listening. I'm glad y'all are listening. He called my dad and he said, Mr. Spallino, will you forgive me? And my dad just was so full of the joy of God that he was just like, Rick, I forgave you years ago. You should know this, because they had been talking for years while he was in prison, exchanging letters. Like, my dad showed me the letters. Okay, so a few months ago, the reason this comes up for me is because a few months ago, my dad got a call from a friend who runs hospice centers. And the guy said, hey, Mr. Brian, or Brian, whatever, this man, Rick, told me to tell Mr. Brian Spallino that he's going to see him in heaven. So this man died, and not his last words, I don't know what his last words were, but one of his last words were to tell my dad that he'd see him in heaven. That was the impact that had on his life, which is crazy. And I love this story because there's so much power in forgiveness, no matter what you believe in. Like, I honestly don't know how my dad could forgive someone who had a gun to his head. I don't know how my dad could forgive someone. I mean, in that moment when my dad was there with his head covered and whatnot, like, they were laughing, making jokes, deciding who is going to be the one to pull the trigger and take my dad out forever. And for my dad to be able to forgive something like that, I don't even know. Like, to me, that's just only evidence of crazy, crazy faith and this unconditional love that is like beyond what we can fathom. So, okay, why did I start even telling this story? I started writing this story out for a piece of content, actually. It was for one of my email marketing. And as I teach in my content to profit lesson in my profitable personal brand coaching program, I love to recycle content. Like, if I'm going to write this story out for an email, I'm going to recycle it. I'm going to share it in a podcast. I'm going to share it as a caption. I'm going to use it in multiple different ways in my social media. And storytelling is the number one way that you will have the opportunity to really connect with people. But the reason I shared this story, in particular is because I think it's important to understand what your parents have been through that made them better than they were before, even if for you it didn't have like the best impact in all the ways. So what I mean by this is I grew up super religious, super homeschooled, super strict. And even though I don't agree with every single thing that my parents did, I'm able to understand why they are the way they are, why they went so extreme to one side. And it helps me understand why I didn't like process certain things, like why I didn't realize I was gay, why I was homeschooled and I was brought up by really religious parents. Why was I brought up by really religious parents? Because my dad had a life or death experience. And then the next time someone told him about God, he went to a charismatic church for a few years. It was jumping over the chairs, because when something bad happens and you almost meet the Lord through a gun, then you start jumping over chairs and whooping, praise the Lord. And I think it gives me a better picture of who raised me. And I could see how like my parents' fire for God came from this place where they really needed something. And recently when I've reconnected with God and realized that, oh, I can be a lesbian and still have this deep, deep relationship with God, I was coming from a place of like really needing something. Like, I'm missing something. I have a God-shaped hole in my heart that needs to be filled, whether or not I'm queer or whether or not the church has told me, like, I don't get to have that connection or I don't get to go there because of how God made me and who I'm attracted to. So anyway, I think if you're listening to this and you're an ally, I just think, fuck, what a good story. And if you're listening to this and you're gay, maybe if you grew up super religious like me, we could give our parents some grace. Because they're doing their best, even when their rules were just plain old weird. Like, okay, one of the weirdest rules that I had was like no dating till marriage. Like, You can date, but like you need to date with the intention of marriage. Therefore, you don't even like begin dating someone if you don't see yourself marrying them, which puts a lot of pressure on a relationship. But that wasn't even my parents. That was just like what was being taught at the time was the right thing to teach your kids, which is crazy. And for everyone who's listening to this live on TikTok, let me go ahead and just answer a couple of your questions. Dr. Stephanie, who's a chiropractor, I'd love to work with you in my coaching program. She says, do I allow guests on my podcast? Yes. When women have been in my coaching program and I've built a profitable personal brand, I have them as guests. And if someone is in a leadership position and they built a profitable personal brand, I'll have them on the show to teach my audience. Elaine says she had strict parents. It took them 7 years to accept her. Wow, 7 years. I'm so blessed it didn't take mine that long. Yes, Judy Nickerson says, I agree. After learning, my parents did the best they could. Exactly. We're all doing the best that we can with what we're given. And I had that realization, and it's like, there's just so much love and grace because we've all had this journey that wasn't easy. Okay, so that was one of the weird rules. Like I couldn't date till marriage, which was really awful because I didn't end up having like intercourse with a guy until my wedding night. And that was a horrible thing because one, I couldn't process that I was gay before that. Two, that horrible thing to realize you're trapped in a marriage and you never got to figure out who you were until your wedding night. So yeah. And then also they were so evangelical because Catholicism didn't really like do it for them when they were younger. So like learning about different religions or different types of Christianity wasn't something that they were really into. Now they're very open-minded. My dad will even like go to any church or whatever. But back then it wasn't. So I never learned about Catholicism or other religions, Buddhism, Islam, Judaism. Like I did not learn about that. So I developed this curiosity for it, which I obviously still have. And I include it in everything I do because I'm so interested in it. But anyway, now my parents are way more chill. We have glasses of wine together. They love my gay ass. And I ended up becoming, like I grew up super strict and now I'm like this person that loves all and accepts all and loves to learn about all. I'm that lesbian that dabbles in anything love and light. Are you? I'm curious. I call myself a seeker, a cherry picker, if you will. I've been reading about the Catholic Church's Saint Catherine of Siena. And let me tell you, powerful, freaking woman who died a cruel death for standing up in her faith. And one of my favorite quotes ever that I remind myself every morning is from Saint Catherine of Siena. And it is, be who God meant you to be, and you will set the world on fire. Be who God meant you to be, and you will set the world on fire. And I can't think of anything more true because the more I am myself and the more I use my voice and the more I tell my story on social media, the more money I make, the more money you'll make, the more impact you'll make, the more people you'll reach. Be who God meant you to be and you will set the world on fire. And I hate that I didn't let myself be who God meant me to be for so long. I know there's got to be other late in life lesbians listening, and like God did not create you to self-destruct. I know if you tried to like hide who you are, it can be so painful. Maybe you're listening to this and you're an ally and you know you need to share this with somebody who needs to hear it, who needs to hear like there's so much grace for the people that taught you one way and you could still love them because maybe they were just doing the best that they could. But anyway, back to setting the world on fire, because at the end of the day, this is a social media marketing podcast that happens to be hosted by a spiritual lesbian. when I just let myself be myself in my content marketing, any dis-ease in front of the camera goes away. That's when sales flood in. That's when my videos go viral. That's when my heart feels at ease. That's when I'm setting the world on fire. That's when people are listening. That's when people are buying. So I will continue every single day sharing my heart, sharing my story, selling my services with confidence that's changing women's lives around the world. And you can set the world on fire too. And I know if you're listening and you've been listening up to this point, you know you have a story to tell. You know that you were put here for a purpose. You know that there's something you're meant to do. In fact, you know you have a story to tell. You just might not know how to get it out on social media in an effective way that's going to actually convert into sales and convert into growing an audience. There's a first step to building a huge, iconic brand online, and that is really being free in how you communicate and storytelling, strategic storytelling. No one can take your authentic stories from you, and no one can profit from your stories like you can. And that's why I'm sharing the power of my new mini course. I just worked on it, y'all. Oh my gosh, like for the past 3 weeks, I have been busting booty to make sure that this course was out there, something that would be truly affordable to every single person that comes across me. Because up until this point, up until a year and a half ago to work with me was VIP 5 to 10K a month. And then right now it's still a multi-four-figure investment. And now there's an opportunity to work with me for less than $100. Now, this mini course, Plot Twist, reveals how to go viral telling your story in only 59 minutes. 59 minutes. The course is 59 minutes. It's a whole course that actually works in less than an hour. Now, I'm capping out on the number of people that I'm accepting at this lower rate. And I want to give you a heads up because we just put it out in our email marketing today and we have people coming in and I don't want you to miss out. But this is your chance to join a select group of purpose-driven entrepreneurs, queer women who are revolutionizing social media with their stories. Yes, Elena, get it through Instagram. You can DM me Plot Twist on Instagram. For everyone listening to the podcast, I'm recording live on TikTok, so I'm looking at the comments. Yes, you can definitely get this, Miss Valdez, on Instagram. I want you to jump on it before we close the doors at this price. Okay, awesome. I'm so glad you have it. Go ahead and jump on it now, but before you do, let me give you a discount code. So here's the thing. There's a discount code. I'm about to get to it, but I want you to jump on it because I know if you're listening to me, if you're still here listening to the podcast, if you're listening to this TikTok live, you know it's time to tell your story. And you know you have a business to build, and this is your moment to set the world on fire. This is your moment to actually do the thing and go viral. Oh, look, Peace is live. Peace got the course. They've gone viral. I'm so proud of them. Okay, this is your opportunity to go viral for the right reasons. Reasons that will build know, trust, and convert into sales with your followers. You can set yourself apart from all the competition simply by being yourself online. So join me inside of Plot Twist to gain the exclusive access to my insider secrets and strategies that I somehow put all into 59 minutes. So the way that you'll get it is just comment or DM me on Instagram the words Plot Twist and use the code MYSTORY, all one word, MYSTORY at checkout to get 20% off of the course for a limited time. That's literally going to make the course $77. $77. And you can learn how to go viral in less than an hour. But I want you to comment or DM me Plot Twist, 2 words, Plot Twist, to get access, and DM me DM me the words plot twist, and at checkout, put in the words my story, one word, to get that price. We're only going to be having, actually, I need to ask my co-coach, but I don't think it's going to be many more. We have this 20% off for a limited time, which today is Tuesday. I imagine this will be gone before the weekend, because I do actual assessments on everyone who comes through. It is a course, but I will be assessing everyone's progress. So, only so many actual people coming in at this rate. 20% off using code MyStory. For everyone who's listening to the show on Spotify, on Apple, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, no matter what era I'm in my life, no matter what I'm sharing. This is the power of a profitable personal brand, that people really love you for you and your stories, the way you feel about listening to my podcasts. This is what people can feel about you whenever they see you online. This is what people can feel when they're in your presence, when they're watching your content. But developing this level of authority and sharing your story takes some practice. And if you do it without a strategy, you won't actually be able to make money. You need to know where the money's coming from and make it worth your while as you tell these stories. So go ahead and get the strategy. I love the energy, but I'm not one of those coaches that's just like, you can do it, and doesn't give you an actual strategy. I give you so much strategy inside this 59-minute course and plug and make money templates. Judy says, thank you for sharing with us. Elaine says, are you on Spotify? Yes, I am on Spotify. You can search me on Spotify for music by searching Sophia Spallino, or you can search me for my business coaching podcast, which is what you're tuning into now. Those of you who are watching on TikTok, you can search Social Equity, Sophia Spallino. I'm on Spotify, I'm on Apple, I'm wherever you listen to podcasts, wherever you listen to music. And I hope that you have an amazing day. And if this story resonated with you and you want to send some encouraging words to my daddy for sharing this crazy story with me, and I'm just so blessed for the family that I have. Even though things haven't been perfect, we're so close now. And if you've got a message from my daddy, you can shoot me a DM, because I will share them with him. I go over and play the harp. It's our thing on Fridays. So I'll be enjoying that time with him. I hope that you get access to Plot Twist. I know it can change your life. I know it can change your business, especially if you are a female entrepreneur who's already doing well, but you've never leveraged the power and the potential of social media. You need to learn how to do it right. You've done everything else really good and really smart. It's time to do this right, baby. So grab Plot Twist, DM me Plot Twist, then put in code MyStory so you can get that 20% off. And if you're like, Sophia, I don't want your mini course, I want to work with you, shoot me a DM and we can get on a consultation strategy call, because if you know you want to work deeper with me, we can talk about how we can do that. Okay. Have an amazing day, my friends. Go out there and go get what you want. Congratulations for listening to another episode of the Social Equity Podcast. Every moment you invest in building your brand is contributing to your social equity. If you're an exhausted coach or service provider, or you're just getting started building your brand from scratch, I can't wait to give you the first steps to go from 0 to 5K months and advance to 10 to 20K months. But why should you take my word for it? Well, I've spent over 9 years in the industry, amassing over 350,000 followers across platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as hosting a top charting podcast, building a successful service provider business, and coaching powerful women to build purposeful, profitable personal brands. So yeah, you should lean in and listen to the social media secrets, sales tips, marketing strategies, and mindset hacks I share. I want to help you build your dream business that makes real money, leveraging the power of a personal brand on social media. Because you're ready to quit wasting time on content that isn't working and start bringing in the money you deserve as a purpose-led coach or service provider, sharing your gifts with the world. So for a limited time, I'm giving away your first steps to go from 0 to 5K months and advance to 10K to 20K months. Grab my newly revamped Profitable Personal Brand Blueprint, the proven framework to build yourself a personal brand that motivates, inspires, and sells so that your business can thrive the way it should. Just go to the link in the show notes. To ask me questions in real time, join me on Instagram Live for the live podcast show. The schedule is always posted on my profile. My handle is @Sophia Spallino. And if you're tired of posting without a reliable strategy and posting without maximal profit, just like many of my clients were before, then you want to join the Profitable Personal Brand 6-month coaching program. Many of you asked how you can get me to coach you on building a profitable personal brand like the one I have. That's why I designed this coaching program, so you could have me coach you, guide you, and mentor you. This is for female coaches, service providers, and entrepreneurs who want to be known for purposeful work and build an extremely profitable personal brand on social media without wasting time. Whether you're a novice at creating or you're feeling stuck, hitting a plateau in business that once had consistent revenue and need guidance, support, and coaching to get to your next level, book a strategy call to speak with either me or my team to see if we'd be the right fit to work with each other inside of the Profitable Personal Brand 6-month coaching program. Mind you, I am very selective, and this coaching program is not for everyone because I'm only taking on serious, purpose-driven, and committed soul sisters inside of my community. If that's you, book your free strategy call now. The link is in the show notes. And if you feel yourself come alive and get excited to take radical responsibility for building your social equity, your personal brand that no one can take from you, leave a 5-star rating with a kind review wherever you listen to podcasts. And be sure to share the show with a powerful woman you know. And remember, with a positive mindset and a profitable personal brand, all things are possible. So go get up and go get what you want.